So I always think if I have evolved in this much time, then definitely Zarina, with the amount of stimuli going on in her life, the challenges she has to experience, she's also bound to have changed.
Work at something very hard, and you just leave the result hopefully somewhere else. And then it sort of feels like it starts to give back to you, right? Your
Yeah.
thoughts kind of start to give back. I feel that. And this project was like that, and I think so many others are also like that for me.
I am not a big fan of theaters and films anymore.
Oh,
I used to be, but the reason Inside Edge was the
Yeah.
first big show on in India,
yeah.
launching Amazon Prime even before Netflix was there, is purely because I believed in it so much, and I was ready for that day when this is going to happen.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to peoplemoon.com. I'm Rashida Sani, and today joining me for the super interesting and intriguing conversation are Karan Anshuman, Akshay Oberoi, and Richa Chadha for the upcoming show Inside Edge 3. Hi, you guys. How have you been?
Good,
Fantastic.
thanks,
Thank you.
Right,
Rashika.
good,
Thank
thanks.
you.
Most welcome. So, firstly, tell me now, the love that's coming in after the release of the trailer. In fact, the first posters when came out, it's maybe more than the first season or the second season when it came. So, did you expect the love to continue and sort of increase also?
I
Anu?
mean,
I mean, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
we are
Go for
kind
it,
of
sir.
counting on that, no?
Yeah.
For season, we are kind of counting on that for people to want to watch season three as much as they wanted to watch season two. Um, yeah, counting on that love.
Okay. Akshay, what about you?
Oh yeah, I knew the responsibility of entering a big franchise like this. I mean, this is my first time I'm part of the show, and I was excited about it because just like everyone else, I was a fan of the first two, and they were such big successes. So everybody wants to do things that are also watched by people. I think some of and particularly with this one. I mean, if I'm honest about my own career, I do so many things that are sort of tagged as parallel or indie or sort of not watched by
Yeah.
a larger audience, which I have a lot of fun doing. But there's a whole different excitement when you have a responsibility like this on your hands. A hugely successful show with some really good fine actors that looks beautiful. The production values are huge, and then you have a great platform backing it.
But definitely, like when we did the first season, I thought no one really knew what we were getting into in terms of what
Yeah.
is the show. We launched the Amazon Prime service with this show. So obviously, just in terms of sheer numbers, we went to a 0 to 100 in the first one, grew in the second, and now with the lockdown, I think numbers with Prime have gone up like 3x or 4x, and
Yeah.
like that sheer the appetite that's been whet for content on these OTT services has been, it's really multiplied and soared. So that's why I don't know what's happened, but there seems to be a lot of electric excitement for
Yeah.
this third season, which is, it's made me really happy because this is the longest one has lived with, any of the shows so far, given the delays that were happened because of the pandemic. And
Correct.
I'm really happy that people are still invested and interested in watching this.
Definitely. And also, Karan, talking about, the immense love that I mentioned in my first question, also, it has been constant. In fact, it has been rising. So when you are returning with maybe a season two or season three, is there any risk or challenges involved, as a creator that you have to make sure that it's better and bigger? Is there any risk of making that?
Generally, a season two or three and any subsequent season is commissioned based on the performance of the last one, right? So
Yeah.
and I think the obvious challenge is that you have to up the game,
Yeah.
like in terms of, especially in terms of the writing. I feel okay. You
Yeah.
might the production values also generally become better. Your actors, for example, they take custodianship of who they are, their characters, and sometimes when you have a new director, uh, they actually have more authority and right on their character than a new director would have, for example. And we try and empower all the actors on our show and
Mm.
technicians who have, worked on a previous season to, take
Yeah.
calls and uh, work as a team with the director. So, um, so that, you know, mitigates the challenge of upping the game when it comes to the writing, and
Yeah.
production values can stay the same or become big, but the idea has to be to make a show that's better than the previous one. That is the only thing. So, and it's this is something that we don't usually see in films, for example. Like, as someone who
Yeah.
directed the entire first season, all I wanted was the second season and the director of the second season to do better. And then here, like, the idea was to
Mm.
empower Kanish to do an even better third season, the best that we have as director, and it's to just up what you have done previously. And I think that works for individual performances, or just the look of the show. The producers also want to just mount it in a way that's really exciting, and I think we've sort of achieved that with this.
Okay, agree. And I must say that all the characters in Inside the Edge are very well written. Now, earlier, of course, we had meaty roles, but in this one, I see that each and every character has its own charm and has its own story to tell. Now, you tell me, as actors, Richa and Akshay, how much does that add on to your performances as well?
Of course, it adds on to the parts we play because it's no fun playing an underwritten character.
Correct.
It's no fun playing a character that doesn't get to live out its full destiny. And in this one, I find that uh, a lot of the knots that were tied in season 1 and 2 are slowly being opened in 3, not just for my character but for most. And I think that
Hmm.
is the one really remarkable thing about the format of series writing, at least in what I watch. And this show, this is what I can understand, is that's what makes for a good, like, sort of page turning, twist and turn kind of situation, is when all the characters have, there's so many interesting tracks in this one. Like, there's every character has an unraveling or a
Yeah.
coming together. They have a very, very distinct journey, and I think that's writing 101, um, especially for a show of this scale and with so many characters.
Okay. Akshay, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, kind of going off what I was talking about earlier, just to add to that, like, this is a very rare combination of something being hugely successful, but also the writing being incredible.
Yeah.
So when I came on board, it wasn't only about this big franchise, and it was also the part that was written. Unfortunately, I can't disclose too much. Whatever you've
Of
picked up
course. Yeah.
from the marketing materials, that's all we can tell for now. But the it was written so beautifully and so correctly that it made my job easier. I mean, it always happens. I think actors walk away with a lot of credit, but it's also what that dialogue was, what the situation that was written for you was. Even just the BGM that goes off while you're saying those dialogues, all those things, matter a lot.
Mm.
And I knew all of that would sort of be sorted with, such talented technicians on board. But here, particularly, the writing took me. I mean, it was a part that I, almost felt like a responsibility while playing. I really have that thought in my head about that this
Mhm.
is a responsibility because it has to be told in a very sensitive and correct manner.
Yeah.
And even my conversations with Kanish Verma, the director of the third season, were around that if it ever goes into a place where you feel like I'm not doing justice, or I'm kind of not, doing it, just hold my hand and work with me through this,
Mm.
which he, very gracefully did. So
Mm.
and I think that's the same for everyone, as Richa was saying. I think everyone's parts are really, really nicely etched out, and that's why I think the trailer also is so exciting, because you can put these snippets quickly of intense
Yeah.
moments, because there are such high
Yeah.
powered moments happening throughout the whole season.
Yeah. I know. The trailer is also like very intriguing to watch, and you want to know more and more. So that's, of
Yeah,
course, a
I'm
great
glad to hear you
add-on.
say that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And, also, while you return to a series like this one, now this is the third season, of course, uh, what is the approach that you follow? Is it similar to what you did in the previous one, or is it consistent?
So that's
Who is
for
this
you're asking.
question
Richa,
for?
Richa, Richa.
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, I always, I don't know how, actually Karan will know if I've done well in this season or not. But I feel like, as a person, as a girl, I feel very different from my who I was 6 months ago or
Yeah.
a year ago. I feel like a completely different person in body, mind. I feel transformed. Some things don't change, uh, like my heart, I guess, but evolution happens in everyone's lives. So I always think if I have evolved in this much time, then definitely Zarina, with the amount of stimuli going on in her life, the challenges she has to experience, she's also bound to have changed. And in that, like, then you find that one thing that's constant. And for this, because of season 3 and everything, that I always think of like one animal, or it's an old Meisner's technique thing, that you relate your character to that one animal
Okay.
or one species that think best describes your quality in this in any role. So I think in the first season, Zarina thought she was the cat's whiskers, but she was a cat. In the second season, she thought she was a tigress, but she was a cat. And in season 3, she's actually lethal because she's a wounded tigress for sure. And that's what you have to be wary of. Somebody who's willing to be patient and wait
Hmm.
to exact the pound of flesh. So, which is why I really loved playing Zarina.
Great.
So
Fantastic.
much scheming and so much.
Yeah.
I wish I had a little black book of किस किस से बदला लेना है.
Okay, great. And Akshay, I know whenever we speak, I talk about this one thing that, every part and every character that you play is always very unique and is always different from one another and impactful at the same time. Now, same with this one. Now, how much ever I watched in the trailer, I'm sure even this show has that one, a uniqueness of you. Now, how do you, keep up with the firstly changing content-based environment that we are currently facing in cinema? Now we are all in for quality-based content that you are always a part of. How are you managing to keep up with it so effortlessly?
Oh
Oh
man,
wow,
that's
that's
so
really,
nice of you to
it's
say
so,
that.
it's such
I really,
it's a compliment disguised as a
Yeah.
question, Akshay. You must say thanks. It's beautiful.
yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, absolutely, thank you, and thank you for I must say thank you for noticing, because that's that's what you do it for. It's people who actually are keen
Of course.
observers of the of what we do and what we're trying to do. So thank you for saying that, because sometimes I get like, oh yaar kisi ne dekha nahi hai और मैंने इतनी मेहनत की उस चीज पे. But then you always get reminded that somebody out there is watching and keeping an eye on
Yeah.
that. So thank you. I am trying, but it's I think what's I'm fortunate to have run into some really good people who are also trying to push the envelope the same way, and I almost feel like sometimes, I was actually telling my wife Jyoti this a couple of days ago. Sometimes things just fall in your lap. I think you work at something very hard, and you just leave the result hopefully somewhere else. And then it sort of feels like it starts to give back to you, right? Your
Yeah.
thoughts kind of start to give back. I feel that. And this project was like that. And, I think so many others are also like that for me, that they just, they're unique and they're different, and there's such talented people behind it who are helping you get that vision across. Yeah, so I mean, I could not even take that credit fully. I mean, it's people like Karan Anshuman and creators of things like this that actually have the vision to put you in something,
Yeah, of
and maybe
course.
somebody could write me off saying, oh, he looks too conventional, or he looks, people like Shankar Raman who cast me in Gurgaon. I don't think anyone thought of me as a negative lead,
Yeah.
or an antagonist before he did. I think people used to say, oh, he's chocolatey and he's cute and he's this and he's that. So it's these directors that I've bumped into that sort of pushed me in different directions, and I'm so grateful to these people. That's why I feel like I just pour my heart out into everything I try and do. And the same thing happened with this. I mean, I was so lucky that this just came to me.
Yeah.
It's a hugely successful show. It has that. I mean, I'll tell you what it was. the unique characteristic about this character that I'm playing, Rohit Shanbag. I felt it was so unique. It had such a different voice than any other sportsman drama that you've seen yet, and that's all thanks to Karan and his writing team, and then to see me in it. So that's it. I mean, I think I chase the directors and the writers more than I chase success and fame and glory, because those are not things that I even understand or even really fully desire from my heart. I desire a moment like this where somebody notices that I'm trying to do different work and, trying to stretch as an actor, and that's really all I care about. So I'm so glad to have bumped into great, filmmakers like these.
Fantastic. Agreed completely. Okay. Karan, as a creator, now I know there has been this very long debate that we have all had in the past 1.5 years, that web versus cinema, theaters, and all of that. Now, of course, theaters are coming back to normalcy. We see a lot of films releasing in the coming months. How do you see that as for the web business that has, suddenly that bloomed last year, and we have been hooked on to our screens? Now, I can say this, that I think everyone I know owns a mini projector by now. We connect that to, our whatever screen, laptops, and then we get the big screen, mini big screen experience at home with web. So I know that a lot of people are still hooked on to that. But with cinemas returning, do you see a change in that?
So obviously, this is something I've thought about a lot and have very strong opinions of about. It's been
Let's hear the purist.
Yeah,
Come
no,
yeah.
on.
you read this wrong, Richa, because I am not a big fan of theaters and films anymore.
Oh,
I used to be, but the reason Inside Edge was the
Yeah.
first big show on in India,
yeah.
launching Amazon Prime even before Netflix was there, is purely because I believed in it so much, and I was ready for that day when this is going to happen, because this is where I want to be as a creator and also as a viewer. I find it way more satisfying to see, shows and series, and watch um, films even on my own, by myself, in my own company, because the idea of watching films in a cinema has become a bit tiresome. It not these days, but say until 2 years ago, where it wasn't rewarding enough to make the effort of actually going somewhere, buying a ticket, parking your car, like,
Yeah.
then getting up, buying, popcorn, and then having like 12 people, 100 people around you just chitter
Yeah.
chat. Like, that's not, it just took the fun out of, the experience of the communal experience that cinema used to be in its
Yeah.
heyday, right? And let's be honest, there is evolution of all kinds. We are evolving towards what is going to become even more intimate forms of entertainment when it comes to virtual reality and things, and just more immersive. And things are changing, and I have always been on that edge where I feel like, forget about the viewing experience, but as a maker also, it's so much more exciting to work with more writers in a writer's room. And the idea of the writer's room, for example, which did not exist till shows happen, or working with multiple directors and being able to tell a story that does not have a set formula of 2 hours where the hero has to come in, and there'll be a conflict, and there's a journey and the hero's journey, and then there's a
Mm.
resolution where everyone has to come out happy. None of that, right? Because here you can go up
Yeah.
and down like the emotional graphs. There's way too many things loaded in favor of longer format storytelling, and I really love that, and that's what I really want to be. So I really don't makes no difference to me whether theaters are open. Yes, I was the first person to go and watch a movie because that's what I do. That's because I'm a compulsive movie watcher, right? And it was nice to go see. Of course, you see stuff on a projector, you see stuff on a phone.
Yeah.
Uh, that idea of having an IMAX 3D experience is there, but
Yeah.
how many films justify that format? There'll be like three in a year, perhaps. So, and I used to be a film critic, and I used to go and watch every single movie at one point, like that ever released. So for years, I was doing that, and then when I stopped being a critic, I just stopped watching movies in the theater because I did not need to go and you know
Yeah.
have myself tortured for 95% of the time. So it's overrated, I think. Okay, so this is a controversial answer that I've been like booed off like public stages and stuff in the past. Um, I feel like, how can that be? And then look at what's happening, and look at the number of shows that have come and blossomed, and the
Yeah.
plethora of good stuff to see on OTT services has been booming, and that's what this is about.
Mm.
Definitely. Agreed. Of course, everyone has their own opinion, but yeah, I agree to most of what you said right now. So yeah. And lastly, I had to ask this to everyone because just before this interview, I rewatched the trailer and I was going through a few comments. And fans are so sweet that they are excited about this season, but they want to know when is the next one coming? Is it coming? What is the scene? So if you could all answer.
I think Karan should answer. I don't
Karan
think
knows.
No, I'm
Karan knows
as
all.
in the dark as everyone else. It's basically Amazon has, once the season comes out, then only will they let us know about the next season.
Okay, we are hoping for seasons after seasons. And thank you so much, Karan, Richa, and Akshay for joining in. All the very
Thank
best for
you.
Inside H3.
Thanks, Rashita.
Thank you. Thank
Thanks
you,
so much.
Most
Thank
Anshul.
you.
welcome.
Thank you,
Thank
Rashita.
you. Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.